What's going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and today I wanted to talk about balance in Age Mythology Retold, and where I think most top players go wrong when discussing this subject. I'm going to break it down into 4 areas. 1, blatantly broken stuff. 2, the meta, or most effective tactics available. 3, frustrating gameplay elements. And 4, playability of a variety of playstyles. So, what is something that is blatantly broken? I'm not sure if people remember Age of Empires 4 at launch, but there was a strategy where you could place a town center in your opponent's base and there was nothing that could be done to stop it. This is blatantly broken. Implode, killing an army, earthquake erasing a base, these are very powerful effects, but blatantly broken? I'm not really sure. Cyclops or Manticore taking out a backline of archers? Well, that's strong too, but that is what they're designed to do, so it's weird to say it, but in terms of strategies that simply make just a game unplayable, they don't really exist in Age of Mythology Retold, and haven't really existed even at launch, with the exception of maybe a bugged Ghoul Bursty, which thankfully got fixed before any sort of broken strategy got popularized. Let me know if you guys think something in Retold is at the level of blatantly broken at the moment. The meta, or most effective tactics available, is simply what the current top players believe to be the best way to play the game. This has seemed to have changed several times over the past few months in my estimation. However, as a style of play or a strategy gets abandoned, it sort of sits dormant to get used again later down the line. As players find new ways to give themselves the best chances to win, their opponents then need time to work out how to beat these strategies. One thing that has been starting to develop recently is the idea that you can't really get anything done with early pressure builds. Advancing fast isn't very good because what are you supposed to attack when the enemy has all the food in the world in their main base? This idea somewhat has allowed strategies like the ISIS 2 town center fast mythic to flourish. Funnily enough, this isn't that different from the 1 town center fast mythic that players were using at launch, but is somewhat less cheesy, so to speak. So why do I bring this up? Well, oftentimes the way in which players approach a game allows strategies to function which really shouldn't function. Another example is the Thor Dwarven Armory opening. This build is incredibly strong, but it does allow your opponent to do whatever they want in the early game. You can go up to 3 town centers straight away if you really want, which really shouldn't work in a normal game, as you just get run over by units and not get your town centers up. In other words, the meta is rarely the actual best way to play, but rather the perceived best way to play until the next meta is unlocked by someone forward-thinking enough. Most of the time, the way top players' games play is actually sort of unique to said top player, as they've actually all got fairly different playstyles, and thus have different experiences in the game. And this can lead top players to having a very different perspective on what is quote-unquote imbalanced in a game. All of this to say is, for me, this doesn't really matter at all. What matters is frustrating elements in a game. What is frustrating? Well, that's very subjective, and often the loudest voices are the ones that get listened to. For example, are horse archers frustrating? The Termor or the Chariot. I don't even like using them, let alone being on the receiving end of them, but I'm just one person. The next gamer may really enjoy this type of unit, and game designers keep on adding in fast range units. So they must be fun for someone, right? Nonetheless, this is the element of balance that I think goes by a top player way too easily. They look at a thing and say, I can beat that. Not understanding that for everyone else, it isn't about winning or losing. It's actually about enjoying the game they are playing. After all, the way in which a ranked matchmaking system works is to try and get players the most equal match it can. and everyone, say, below top 10 will trend towards a 50% win rate given enough games. I'm not here to say what I find frustrating or not, because of course it is subjective, but I am interested in what you guys find frustrating to play against. And I'm also interested in whether or not you've also tried to use said frustrating thing as well. Let me know in the comments section what your experience is. Finally, the playability of multiple styles. Are you a rusher? Are you a boomer? Are you a strategist? Do you like going for map control? Each one of these styles should be playable and be effective if executed correctly. Right now, I'd arguably say that in Age of Mythology Retold, most playstyles are playable. I can boom, I can tech, I can raid, I can hard map control. I'm not exactly sure if anything is missing per se, but are any of these playstyles too effective or not effective enough? And personally, I think so. There are two that stick out like a sore thumb to me right now, and remember, I'm a biased top player, so please correct me in the comment section if you experience something different in your games, but I don't really see much rushing, and I don't really see much playing for the late game in terms of players' actual playstyle. There was a Chronos Rush that was developed by the biggest brain in Age of Mythology Retold, Soup, which was very good for a moment, but was swiftly thrown in the bin after the Mister dismantled it easily, might I add, in Wrath of the Gods. Poseidon's early pressure builds can be considered a rush, and I think it's still pretty effective, but I'm already starting to run out of ideas for how to play aggressive in Age of Mythology Retold. I talked with Magic quite a bit about this stuff, and his solution to the problem is reducing the food in your base, but I personally think that this opens up a whole can of worms that will send AOM into a really imbalanced place and require a lot of early game balance changes to help fix it. The simplest solution possibly could be to make it harder to simply protect your base. One idea would be to introduce maps with less natural defenses around your base. For example, maybe less forests. If you spawn with just 2 close forests around your base, all of a sudden those berries, chickens, gold mines become very challenging to defend with just buildings. You obviously still have the defender's advantage, but you'll have to produce units to actually defend your in-base resources. I don't really know if something like this would be a good idea or not, but it's an alternative to just saying to players, get out on the map much earlier than they can handle. So next would be playing for the late game. And the late game, as I define it, is having all the upgrades you're going to research and having a trade route set up. We really don't see this very often at all. This is sort of upsetting to me because I really enjoy playing these games and I enjoy casting these games as well. However, I really wouldn't enjoy it if it was happening every game. So it's a really fine balance. Right now, however, it's incredibly rare. And funnily enough, even if both players rush to Mythic Age, we are still seeing games ending around 20 to 25 minutes. I seriously don't know what would be a good idea to help this out, or even if there is something that needs to happen. Perhaps trade caravans might need to be cheaper. Perhaps gold mines might need to have a little bit more gold inside of them, such that they don't expire as quickly. Perhaps it's not an issue at all, and the higher level we go as a player base, the more often we'll get into stalemates, and thus late games will occur. In the end, balance isn't that important. I hate losing, but if I lose, play well, and it was a fun game, then there's a certain level of calmness about the loss, and I can go into the next game without any problems. If I play the meta, or if I go off meta, it doesn't really matter. If I rush, boom, tech, that doesn't really matter. The things that matter to me for balance are, are there any absolutely busted strategies and frustrating elements in the game? Let me know what you guys think is the most important thing with balance. This topic can go on, and I'd rather have it be a little bit more interactive with you guys. So definitely let me know what you think is something that's important that could potentially help make the game more fun to play. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.